Shall we start the meeting? Ooh,
Oh, I like that. I can hear.
you can hear, right?
I can hear finally.
I have the speaker out here set up pretty loud. As long as we don't get feedback, we're all safe. Okay, Howie's not here, Peter's not here, Deirdre's not here, and Tim isn't here, nor is Mark Luchtenberger here. Those are all absentees. And Jay very nicely agreed to take minutes,
I was well informed.
as well as Abby. All right. So just,
You
We'll
get
start
extra
with-
credit, Abby, for your doctorate if you take minutes at meetings you go to? Get extra credit for that?
You should.
so we have a new person at our meeting today. Margaret is the new intern planner.
Hi.
And she is going to be the, our go-to person from this committee as well as conservation. So I'm not sure if you all know her and if you all know everybody. If you want us to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jay McCray.
Yes.
Hi, Margaret.
You've been to my house before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mose Price.
Hi.
He's on Harbor and Waterfront if you don't know him.
No, but I did look you guys up. I looked up a little bit about the committee, and I saw that this committee pulls people from a bunch of other committees.
Right. And I'm Mary Ann.
Yes, of many committees.
I'm Canamig, Town Lands, and I've been on it with your mother in the past.
Yes, of course.
And I'm Nancy West, and I'm also on the Conservation Commission.
Gotcha. So you're the
Okay.
crossover from conservation.
And then we have Ms. Wesbury. And Margaret, could you tell us a little about you?
Yes, I come from the codes office, and when Matt, so I'm a code officer in LPI, plumbing inspector, and when Matthew James left the planning office, they moved me into the interim planner position. Yeah, and so I'm in charge of this committee, or I'm your staff contact for this committee and conservation. And I look forward to working with you. I did a little bit of research, but it looks like you guys are doing lots and lots of cool stuff. Yeah,
We have a lot of irons in the fire right now.
yeah. But I do have one question. It looks like you guys are supposed to have somebody from the planning board. Is that true?
We should and we don't.
Okay. Have you ever?
In the early we did.
We did, I'm trying to think of who it was.
Al.
Oh, Al.
Yeah.
Al LeGros, when he was on in the beginning, when we first started the committee, Al LeGros as,
We were a task force.
we're a task force, but then when things got busier with the comp plan, then
Yeah.
he dropped off.
All right.
Yeah.
So at some point, you guys could have another member.
Yes, we could have a member from the planning board.
I think that would be awesome.
I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a couple announcements to begin with.
Can I start by moving we accept the minutes as.
Thank you, which I realized I didn't put on here. We have minutes from the last meeting, if everybody's had a chance to read the corrected minutes. If I could take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay,
Well done, Nancy.
Thank you, Mary Ann, for making it sound more formal.
I wouldn't call it formal. It helps me remember what the names of all these things are,
Yeah.
is the issue.
No, I think that was important.
Yeah,
And Jay, thank you for your improvement.
I didn't see yours, so I'll have to look later. Okay, so just moving along here, the Lowell's Cove and Digley Island Road engineering study is winding up, and we're going to have a stakeholder meeting for the draft plan on February 18th at 5 p.m., which is a Wednesday, and it'll be here at 5 o'clock. And it would be nice to have members of the committee here as well as the stakeholders.
This Wednesday?
No, next Wednesday, Wednesday, the 19th, that's 2 weeks, right?
18th. It's the 18th.
The 18th is a
18th, I
Tuesday.
keep doing it, it's a Tuesday, isn't it? I've had a mental block on this from the beginning.
Well, I can tell you the postcard came to us today. It
Okay.
said the 18th.
Thank you.
And that's a Tuesday.
So it's for which roads?
It's Dingley Island Road and Lowell's Cove Road. And a lot of cards went out.
It was very exciting to get the postcard.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
Do you like the color?
Yes. Stood right out.
Okay, moving on from then, well, let me back up a bit. Jamie Hark is on the Conservation Commission, and he's a landscape architect. And he was working with this group that envisioned resilience last year, of which I sent kind of a preview of their work. Jamie worked with them as a judge in their contest, basically, last year. And as a result, I'm not sure how much you've had a chance to look at this, but the group that is funding this project is out of Nantucket. And they're working with landscape architects and architects at various universities and pulling together resilience projects for the students to work on for a semester. They've chosen Northeast, when they moved up from Massachusetts, they chose the Northeast and Maine to concentrate on. And this coming year, well, last year they worked in Portland and South Portland and came up with engineering designs for various projects in the South Portland area through their university. They are moving ahead this year to work on Harpswell.
Who?
So that's this Envision Resilience group.
As I understand it, what the shows that are mentioned there are from the work from last year.
Exactly.
And, and then this is, will they be engaging with anyone?
Yes, so I met with them. They're very interested in engaging with the community. The idea of bringing the students in, engaging with people in the community on various working waterfront and various areas of how we can think about resilience design for the future. And they're going to be sitting and meeting with people in the community, basically. So the idea is the project starts next semester, which would be in fall of 2025. Those chosen to work on the project will come and meet people in this area starting in September. Prior to that, the organization itself will be coming to the community to start making some contacts. What they ended up, and these are kind of, how you might, I'm not sure, I'm really anxious to see what they've done in Portland and South Portland. But they're going to be showing the work that they did starting in February and March at the public library, Portland or South Portland, I forget.
I think both.
I think both.
Both, yeah. So they had planned to come today to I invited them to come and explain their project in more detail. They're not able to make it because of another commitment. But they're having the opening exhibition, which is Friday night at
Portland Library, wasn't it?
Portland Library, and then afterwards they're meeting at, which brewery, I forget.
Of course.
It should be very interesting too, Nancy. So yeah, and I find it really difficult to describe their project because they do have an extensive website, but I find it difficult to really find, until I talk to them, get a sense of what they will be able to do for us. Jane? I'm thinking about 4 or 5.
Going to other.
Yeah. They take a portion, I'm thinking of, there's a lot of universities involved, and they take a portion for various areas. Jamie Hark went to UVM, University of Virginia, in their architecture program, and that was how he got involved with being a judge for the group for last year's project.
Jane, Jamie said that they're also going to be in West Bath and Brunswick. But he said it's conservation.
No, oh, yeah,
I couldn't remember you had been here for that meeting.
yeah.
Jay.
Mary Ann? Choke. Excuse me.
Try something
I'd be
direct.
interested, I don't know if they're going to deal with this, but the rules around green, you'll know the terms and I don't, for the waterfront shoreline where it's not to be
Living
hard.
shoreline?
Yes. And the pressure that, because of storms, there's some pressure to change that,
I'm talking about hardening
Yeah.
infrastructure.
like in my.
My sense is, yes, I'm going to make a note, and that would be good if you're talking to them,
Yeah,
mention that.
yeah,
But I believe that is part of what they're talking about, what I did read in some of the material.
yeah,
So,
interesting. I like the idea of the living, what is it, Ken?
Living shoreline?
living
Yeah.
shoreline, there's actually, there's another term it's hardening the coastline. It's a combination of both, because living shoreline in this area is more of a southern term that is used for different geology. So I think that's a lot of it, but the state is kind of calling it, they're hardening it. But
Interesting.
We did a little bit at the Tide Mill Landings, one place I do know in town, on town property that was done. It's a small stretch, but it was sort of a living shoreline as part of a erosion.
Yeah, exactly. And people are throwing up mountains of stone instead.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
concerned about that.
Yep. No, and I believe, I don't remember if in Portland or South Portland in this project they dealt with it, because I went through some materials earlier, but I know around Eeks Island, one in there, they did sort of a combination of a little bit of kind of a terracing approach.
Almost rip wrap and then living material as well, or?
Yeah, like think of a terracing of, some rock, flat space with green,
And then more.
up, kind of a stepped up approach. So yeah. So this could be very exciting, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Oh, right. Well, we'll make sure they go through you.
Well, no, not necessarily me, but just maybe.
As an introduction process.
As an introduction, depending how they're doing it. In fact, as we met at Biggs, when we met, and, had the opportunity to kind of give them a sense of, we happened to be there right around lunchtime, of, not fishermen then, but actually construction people coming in looking for lunch. Yeah. Exactly. Make a bad, yeah. Yeah, I will make sure that gets through to them.
I think it could be really cool. I'm looking forward to going to Portland Library to see the exhibit.
I am too.
So the exhibit will go on for a while.
I think it's for,
3 months?
May?
That sounds right. I remember it looked like at least a
it's,
couple months.
it's at least through March. I forget for sure, and it doesn't say on here. And if anybody would like to, I would love to make plans with someone else, and we could go in together, rather than produce. Jay, you were going to say something? Well, they're basically going to reach out to Christie and tell them about the project. And them, I understand, they're going to try to then outreach to the town's people in general in various ways. And that's the area that we probably have to flesh out better. I've also had them want them to talk to Paul, because we definitely talked about the working waterfront a lot, but how to make inroads there. Yeah, right. Planning.
Are they in town or they're coming?
They're coming into town.
Because the aquaculture group is meeting next Wednesday.
Next
In
Wednesday.
the evening
Yeah.
for a big
Was
thing.
is that the what?
Well, the idea is to finish up the mapping,
Right.
but everybody involved with waterfront is invited to be there and contribute. So. it's at
That
the
would be
schoolhouse.
interesting. Could you send me I can look it up, but if you wouldn't mind sending me the details on that?
Yeah.
And that might be something you would like to tell the whole committee about, if you're looking for support from us.
Now?
Sure.
Yeah, this is the aquaculture working group that was set up in the spring, started in the summer. There were a couple select board workshops first, and the select board decided that it would be appropriate to have a working group. Margaret knows Chris. Chris is on the committee. And we've talked about the interactions between the fisheries, the concern about aquaculture and the high-value fisheries. And that what the group decided was to map Harpswell waters with the high-value fishing areas, and also areas that look conducive to aquaculture, so not, there was a push to not allow aquaculture, which is, I said every meeting, state rules, state water, the town doesn't get to decide, but we can work cooperatively. So we've had a really good meeting with DMR, with a representative of DMR, a representative of the Aquaculture Association, a representative of Sea Grant, and talked about the issues. Then the group had already started this mapping. So we held meetings in 3 parts of town, as you do in Harpswell, because it's Harpswell, and invited fishermen to come in and map the areas, lobster, shellfish.
Bogies.
Well, pokies are everywhere, but
Oh, yeah.
pokies, yeah. Any other fisheries, and where aquaculture is. So the other thing we did was request that DMR, experimental leases, they're standard and there's experimental. And experimental aren't required to do a pre-application meeting. Standard are. And the idea is if you come to the town, talk about it, you can look at the maps, which DMR won't put on their website. They have maps that aren't as specific. But they can see the Harpswell maps. They can talk to the committee. They can figure out, is this a good site? Possibly without the conflicts that can happen. So the idea is to have it be constructive and cooperative. So DMR is, there was just an aquaculture advisory meeting. Abby, you were online. And what? Oh. Well, I explained what I've just explained and asked that, not because, I spoke for myself and said aquaculture's, I believe it's valuable, I believe it's a source of protein, I believe it's a source of jobs, but we want to avoid the conflict. So if the experimental lease also requires that pre-application or has it as part of the process, then we can prevent things. An example is there's a lease that is, wherever it is, it's fine, but in certain times of year, it's not. And if the aquaculture farmer could pull the gear out at that time of year, which would be fine with the aquaculture farmer, but didn't know that before the lease. And if you change it, you have to go all the way back and reapply and pay the money and spend years. So if that was known in advance, it could prevent that problem, possibly. So the meeting on the 12th, I think it is, next Wednesday, is at 5 o'clock at the schoolhouse, is to complete the maps, hopefully. People have also gone out to fishermen to find them. I know Chris has done that, others have done
Right.
that. Chris McIntyre's on the committee. To try to get them to put their input in. And this meeting is anybody involved, moorings, wharfs, to try to get that all on the maps. So that's the meeting
Good.
on Wednesday.
Jay, what kind of fisheries are included in aquaculture? Is oysters or clams part of it?
Oysters, kelp,
Okay,
mussels. Not,
okay.
I don't know if there are mussel farms around here, but mussels.
But they're
Around
concluded.
here,
They're
it's pretty much seems to be all oysters. I've heard some talk about scallop. I don't know if there are any
Scallops.
in this area or
I
not.
think
And they're even farming
mussels and
quahog,
oysters.
Mussels and
Right.
oysters.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Anything
what's
that's
coming,
Anything that's cultivated.
cultivated.
In the open water.
Yeah.
what's coming is they're experimenting with clams. But clams are typically harvested
Right, right.
in the flats. And what was the other one you mentioned?
I mentioned quahog seed
Quahog seed.
because they're taking, ideally, the harvesters, Harpswell purchase the seed from a dealer, and then the harvesters broadcast it. They would be much cheaper if they could grow the seed out till it's ready to be harvested. So that is another way that, well, aquaculture is being
Yeah,
used.
yeah.
And then there's also top culture as well as bottom culture.
Yeah,
and
so one
there's-
of the concerns, and I think we'll talk about this
Next
year, is carrying capacity or nutrients. How much can body of water support? So there are a couple exciting things happening there that Mary Ann's going to talk about. But it's pretty interesting, this whole aquaculture, the tension around it and the process that it allows. It's growing, obviously, and a lot of young women are involved. Be interesting.
And a lot of older lobstermen.
And lobstermen who can't lobster anymore, or
Yeah.
That was what was interesting about the talk given at the schoolhouse sponsored by the Land Trust about kelp. Was that kelp, the work that goes on with kelp happens in the off-season for lobstermen, so that the two fisheries, one cultivated and one wild, the two just really nicely complement each other.
Right.
yeah. And there's Maine Sea Farm, I believe, is that's exactly what it is. It's kelp, but it's done by off-season, typically. And it's a
Interesting.
woman.
Well,
There's
that's,
also aquaculture, not here, but aquaculture with eels, the elvers,
okay.
the little glass eels that are incredibly valuable. Like, they can be over $2,000 a pound, and it's a lottery to get a license. And there's some shenanigans going on, but you're supposed to have a license, and you can catch the eels. And the department, there's a quota. Native tribes have a quota, and then there's a lottery for other people. And a young woman who wanted to try aquaculture with eels was allowed to get a quota. It was controversial, but she did. And she's making it successful. So instead of shipping them to Asia and then bringing them back for sushi, they're being grown here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't be my choice of profession, but,
It's like warmers, right?
yeah.
Well, this is,
Oh, thank you.
okay,
you.
great.
Oh, thank you.
Just now? Of course.
Thank you.
And is anybody welcome?
So,
Anybody is
Oh,
welcome?
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So this is really a good lead-in because we don't have a representative on the committee from that committee yet because it's a task force. And Paul and I have been talking about how that's going to proceed. But this is really, I think, really important that you were able to fill everybody in on that piece of it because I'm not sure it's that well known what the committee's doing.
But it's pretty interesting,
It is
in
interesting.
my opinion.
I get to film them, so I've kind of kept up on it. It is interesting.
It's a nice group, too, the aquaculture working group has lobstermen, at least 2 aquaculture farmers, one of whom is a marine scientist,
Right?
shellfish harvester, business owner, me, who's not a fisherman. So I take the notes.
Or woman?
I said I would take the notes because I'm not a fisherman.
Yeah, but you got in with the legislature.
Well, we did because one of my former colleagues is the current chair of the Marine Resources Committee, and she's been come to a couple meetings. I wrote up a bill, but we don't need a bill. We can do it through rulemaking, which is even better. So she's been a great advocate.
And I think that was part of the issue that when this came up was you really do need the state to sign on to this in time, and you're a really good resource and a good person to be pulling that information and sending it through to the state.
So to know how to work through this.
through the system.
Jay, is this unique? Or are other communities along the coast of Maine doing the same kind of thing, having these discussions about
don't think so.
geographic overlap?
Well, this push for a moratorium is being pushed by a group across the coastline. At the meeting, that the Aquaculture Advisory Committee was where Abby and I were both on. A couple different people who are on the advisory committee talked about how they've done the mapping informally, and it was very helpful. The chair talked about a lease, I think he's Yarmouth, maybe. He talked about a lease that he had to go out against because, and if this process had happened sooner, it might have been a different outcome. I don't know whether the lease was granted or denied, but he spoke against it. But there's a lot of interest. Sea Grant is very interested in what we're doing. Allison Hepler's the representative from Woolwich. She's very interested. And so it's, people are interested and maybe we'll be doing more of it because it's growing. So let's figure it out.
Early.
And I think the big thing too is you want to try to stay away from the friction that was starting to develop. I mean, all the fisheries are important, and to start having friction between them is not good.
No, but it's being pushed, unfortunately.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Let's figure this out because we need all of it. I did just hear that the whale rules have been reinstated.
It's hard to keep up with them hour by hour.
Okay. Okay, so it's not happening yet.
Right.
With Maine, I think it was the track Maine gear, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And very stressful.
Yeah.
These are people's livelihoods and really, really awful. So,
So I'm going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which was the shellfish capacity study update. Adding to what Jay just talked about, the Marine Resources Committee wanted to have some baseline for us to start knowing what a carrying capacity could be for various areas. And the fact is that we have such a large shoreline and it's such a large area. It also is a large area for fisheries in general. So having something in place similar to what they're doing on the committee, showing where everything is a first step. And what we applied for in our grant with the Castaway Estuary Partnership was to do basically a study with FB Environmental in three of the bays, Middle Bay, Harpswell Sound near Dog's Head Island, and New Meadows River up near the Gurnet. And the idea being there is they will, because we don't have that much at this point, we can have a starting point to see what the carrying capacity is right now. The project was, I think, as I mentioned at the last meeting, was approximately $56,000. So Max Johnstone of MCOG had offered to work with the Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund, which is out of the state of Maine, to try to get funds to start this study. Although we know that that particular organization will probably only fund up to $25,000 to $30,000. We then applied to the Castaway Estuary Partnership for the other half, basically. And these were not applications, these were invitations to be a full application. Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund invited Max to submit a full application, which he is in the process of putting together. And Castaway Estuary Partnership did not invite us to submit an application. So I spoke with Max this morning. Paul was sick. We sort of came up with, I want to wait till Paul gets back, rather than Maine Coast Heritage, I keep saying that, the Outdoor Heritage Fund going for the full amount and not getting funded for it. Thinking we might want to make this project into two phases. Have him go with what he's really confident that we could get the grant, and then have us work on the second phase, looking for different funders. I also was speaking with, so that's kind of where we are. I spoke with Matt Craig this afternoon to kind of get some insight of why we weren't chosen. Aside from the fact that they had many requests for various grants, ours was a little, it didn't really focus on one specific area. They had 3 areas, and it was a little bit of each. And so they basically focused on what they could fund because they had, that was really directly related to the 3 areas that they were looking for. However, he had some really good ideas, and I'm looking for my notes, about how he felt this project fell, what area he thought this project could fall nicely in. He gave me some suggestions of where we might apply, offered to help us with that. So I'm going to follow through and start reaching out. One of them he meant was the Maine Natural Areas Program, which he thought was really a good fit, except we don't have a comprehensive plan right now, so don't think we can apply to them. But we might know. We'll find out.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll find out. So So that was a good conversation with him, actually, because I think he's going to be helpful as we move forward on this. And so backing up a little bit, we talked at the last meeting of putting some funds from Spira into this. Thought perhaps it could be approximately $10,000 on a $50,000 project. I guess the question I would like to run past the committee today is, if we're going to do this in 2 phases, do we want to offer to put a smaller amount into the first phase? Because what the state is looking for is how much support they have from all the other people involved in the project. And that would mean, for example, the town is going to take care of transportation for those taking the samples, which is an in-kind and worth a fair amount of money. And then Max asked, he says, does the town have anything in their budget for this? And my sense is they don't. Last time I talked to Paul, there's nothing in the budget for that. So it would be a project that Spira could very easily fall into.
Is the question, does it help our chance of getting the grant the more we kick in?
Yes.
In that case, maybe it's worth more. If we don't get the first one, why try the second round?
That's true. That's true.
Uh,
So I didn't put the question out to Max, is what percentage are they looking for? I'm
What
not
would
sure.
help our odds?
And what's going to help our odds? Because that's basically, they're looking for, when he makes this application next week, they're looking how what kind of support they're getting from the community in the form of matching funds, basically.
Will you tell me again, please, what organization Max is with?
Mid-Coast Council of Governments,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. And Jay sits on there,
Yeah.
Economic Development Steering Committee.
yeah.
Really interesting.
And that's who
But
he
you
works
don't make
with.
decisions on grants.
No,
Okay.
I think I should, though.
So in terms of resilience, which is what this committee is all about, sustainability and resilience, this grant could provide the baseline data for us to be able to make informed decisions in the future in order to adapt to climate change.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah, and in this case, it was in our thing, it was basically, we're trying to be preemptive, to be able to have information, just as you mentioned, to upcoming fishermen, so that they make better choices even where to put their, and this could be applicable to other towns as well. Because I don't think this is happening to any extent, my understanding is, elsewhere.
The only one, and help me, the only one I know about is also MCOG's involved with the Monadnock,
Well, the Medonic,
Medonic.
yeah,
Thank you. And that's the same issue,
the same issue,
different area, same issue, but it's an area without aquaculture.
correct.
So they can have a baseline and then
Work from there.
watch what happens.
How have they managed to avoid that, considering that the Denver-Scott River is just jam-packed with them?
Yeah,
It's evidently, because Max actually got funding for that project. The Medonic, there's evidently aquaculture, but not in Noblesboro?
whatever area they're studying.
Because the Medonic's very large,
Yeah, it's a,
and this is, my sense is it's
up
a
to
smaller.
Waldeboro.
Waldeboro,
Yeah.
yes. And this, my sense is this is an area where it narrows down, and there hasn't been any aquaculture up until now. And when it started to hit in that area 2 years ago now, I think, it started in the same thing progressed. They wanted to put a moratorium on it and move forward and so forth. So they now have that study done, and they will be in a very good position to watch what happens.
So when the Sea Grant, Dana Morse from Sea Grant, which is a UMaine and other university program, was here, one of the members of the working group brought up carrying capacity and constricted currents. And it's such a scientist thing. He said, that would be worthy of study. Because you need the data.
Yeah.
And this is, so this study on the river is data. What'll, if, assuming we get to do it here, will be data. And I don't know if other areas are doing it, but MCOG's very interested.
Very
so.
interesting. And what MCOG is providing on this particular grant that they're doing for us is the administration of it. Along with that, I spoke with Dana Morse after the last meeting and told him about the project we're working on. And he said, yes, that they probably would fund could fund $5,000 if we word it right.
And he would help?
Sure,
Yeah.
I think so.
Good.
It seems to me that the town is committed to the working waterfront, and this is definitely part of it. It also seems to me that with respect to individual people trying to make a living out of Middle Bay, for instance, if we know what the carrying capacity is, we can prevent people from making a mistake that would cost them their livelihood.
Yep.
So it makes sense to me.
Yeah. Mary Ann, some clarification on the grant issue. Are we applying, we can apply to Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund. Are you also talking about a GoPIF grant?
No, these aren't GoPIF.
So
unless
this
they-
is about, they're looking for community buy-in. We're not talking about GoPIF here.
No,
Okay.
this is completely out of GoPIF unless they come up with a new grant that we could fit into that.
Yeah, okay.
I was also advised to talk to the Castaway Estuary Partnership in more detail because they're getting ready to fund their next year's budget to see if there's some way we can tap into it.
So do you need something from us? Do you need an approval of some sort?
Motion or
I think we should have a motion to approve funds for this particular grant.
this matching portion?
Matching portion, we just don't know the amount at this point. My sense it'll be $3,000 to $5,000.
I move that we agree to provide $3,000 to $5,000 to the
Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund
grant
grant.
proposal.
Yeah, what may raise it up to 5,000? And then.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm good with that. From the Spira funds.
From Spirit.
Yeah. Second?
Second. All in favor?
Sounds like a great opportunity.
It does. It's such a great project if we can just do it.
Ken, were you the second?
Yes. And we're going for 50,000 range?
Yeah. It was 56,000, 56?
Now, if,
56,000 is what we got the quote from FB Environmental. Well, I have to contact them as well. I'm waiting for Paul to get back. I don't want to go ahead. and
if
talk
you
with him.
find out that, if you kick in 20%, that much thing, do we want to now leave?
We could do that.
I'm, like, say, anything that helps our chances, I think would.
Like a good investment.
Well, we don't have, we could raise the amount up to. In other words, we passed it for up to 5.
Right. You say it's 56,
It's 56.
so. if you-
10% would be 5,000. 20%, 15%.
Well, I was thinking 20% somehow that was a match for the, that would be what,
This
11,200.
for the 30,000.
it was 56,000 we were going.
Is that the whole shebang?
The whole shebang is 56,000.
Okay, so,
At
but
this
it-
point,
Oh, it's 36, okay.
at this point, here again, it's going to be in the neighborhood of 25 to 30,000 because that's the most that they will fund. And as Max says, he's had luck with them because of the percentage of match he's able to put in.
Okay, so 20% of 30,000. Procedurally, can I amend the amount to $6,000?
Yeah, I have a delete key.
But we're being videoed. I want to make sure we do this right.
Well, no, you can,
You want to just amend your adjustment?
You want to amend the amount?
Okay, I move to amend the amount of the previous motion to up to $6,000.
Second.
All in favor? So that's $6,000 of $30,000.
20%.
Yep. And we will address, if we get invited for another grant, we will then address the Spira for that amount of money.
And this grant deadline is next week? Is that what you said?
He has to have it into them the following week, but he's got to drive it up to Augusta because they don't accept,
Electronic.
they don't accept electronically. They want 10 printed copies.
Yeah.
This is,
Do you know where you physically hand it to someone so you get credit for it?
he
Yes,
does.
He does? Okay.
He's taking 4 others up at the same time,
Oh, wow.
or other towns. I think it's one of these is because this organization actually divvies up different departments, like DMR or whatever. And my sense is I guess because moving stuff around to different departments, I don't know. But, so anyhow, he would like to have it finished up by we set a call up for next Tuesday. He's looking for kind of finish it, have input from us as to what we're doing by the middle of next week. So give him time to write it up, pull it together.
It's nice to have the flexibility to jump in on
It
opportunities
is,
like this.
it's really, really, really good. Okay. Moving on. Now I lost my agenda.
Right.
Thank you. Oh, Howie. Howie sent a message last night, I assume you all got it, that he couldn't make the meeting today. However, let me go back and pull my notes up. We discussed what the project was at the last meeting, I believe, where the committee is going to the town, they want to hire a professional, and he spent quite a bit of time discussing that with us, and if anybody has questions, we can answer them. However, when he put the request into the Budget Advisory Committee, it was decided that it would come out of Spira. So, rather than out of general budget. So what we are looking to do today is to, it's $12,000, I'm thinking.
Up to,
No, it is $12,000.
right, they're requesting $12,000, but
So they're requesting $12,000 to do this study. We are funding it through Spira. So that would be, we would be funding $12,000 out of Spira. That would pay for the project to be completed.
Do you want a motion for that?
I do.
Move we agree to expend $12,000 from Spira for this E&T solar consultant project,
I'll second.
or words to that effect.
Okay.
And I think as how I remember it, this was, the emphasis of this would be some sort of solar infrastructure within town that would offset the town's
yes.
That's my
electrical
Right.
usage as opposed to more the commercial thing that was proposed and shut down at Mitchell Field.
Correct. They, trying to get them an idea of what facilities we could put in town that the
That
town
would be
could use
viable and
viable, and not so much for the whole town, but for town infrastructure.
government.
Yeah.
They're
And,
looking for something like 40,000 square feet, which is essentially an acre used for it. Rooftops aren't enough.
yeah, and there's just, and I think the feeling he had was there's just so many possibilities, and we've been doing it all piecemeal, And it would be good to get some really kind of a complete strategic overview.
He seemed to make a good case last month.
He did. And then when, the budget committee decided that would be really a good project for Spira. So, and it is. So,
Do we have a
we have a motion on the floor, I believe, don't we?
Motion made and
Seconded.
seconded.
All in favor? Okay. So we are designating $12,000 from Spira to pay for that.
Is it 12,000 or up to 12,000?
It's 12,000.
Oh, 12, that's right, that was the.
If it's less, I'm sure
Not a penny more.
back.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Now, the next item is community resource information. We have a number of little subgroups that have been working on projects having to do with, in this particular project, and I think what I want to do is always go back to our sustainability plan and see how these projects line up with that. And one of them in the sustainability plan was a community information setup community. As part of that, we also wanted to focus on social vulnerability as well. So the group that has been working, and there's two of them here,
And you,
and me,
Jane hasn't been.
would be nice to have a report, I think, to the whole committee of how that's progressing.
So Nancy, Marianne, we drafted Abby, who was goofing off last week. And Peter, and we drafted Gail Hayes. Met last Friday. We've met, this was our fourth meeting. And Friday we met in person so that we could brainstorm in person. And what we're looking at is a way to communicate information to the community about two big areas. One is energy efficiency and the other is emergency preparedness. And sort of the bottom line from Friday was for the storm preparedness, there are a lot of resources out there. So we don't need to recreate, don't reinvent the wheel. So we're exploring those resources that are out there. And we'll see if there's one that fits or if we need to do some combining. Peter had a good quote of if there's 7 examples, 7 different ones that do pretty much the same thing and we combine them, then there's an 8th. So if we can find one that fits. Gail talked about one that the Sagadahoc Emergency Management Agency has, and she sent us pictures of it. I called it the fun one because it has pull tabs. You pull it up and it's like what you do if there's a hurricane, what you do if there's snowstorm or tornadoes, because the director's from Iowa.
And volcanoes.
Okay.
Yeah, volcanoes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that made me laugh.
So
We don't have to worry about that here.
So we're looking at that and looking at what would be most likely to be actually used and read and useful as opposed to, we don't want reams of paper. We're talking about maybe a card, 2-sided, maybe a file you stick things in.
Like the file of life.
Like the file of life, yeah.
You would put in a convenient place.
Yeah.
This is like possibly made available at town meeting.
Absolutely. Oh, this coming town meeting?
We're looking for it to be
It would
available.
be great
now.
if it could be.
Probably next one.
Yeah, no, this one. Just to go back, it's our strategy, which was engaging Maine people, which is to develop a public information education program, is what we're working on. And while we've been concentrating on handouts to people, we also have to deal with the online piece of it and the website piece for them to be kind of a complete method for everybody. I found this from you again, Miss Abby, and it's really succinct and really very. No, not necessary, not necessarily. No, but I felt, I just came across it when I was going through my stuff. I said, this is really good. So, that's in process. And being as, our next meeting is in March, it would be nice to have something, because I'm going to talk about that at some point, at town meeting.
That's our next agenda item.
That's right.
What a coincidence.
That's, how about that?
Can I make one tie that Jay has not made? 50 words or less? Jay said two sides. One is reducing energy consumption. Those are my words.
Energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency and storm preparedness, emergency preparedness. The emergency preparedness is short-term. The energy efficiency is long-term, addressing the same issue. We began focusing more on emergency preparedness after the hurricane clobbered Western North Carolina, and which reminded us of the storms of last winter. So we didn't start out planning to be publicizing ways that people can take care of themselves and their homes and their neighbors, but the weather has forced that upon us.
And from our perspective, as Jay said, there is a lot of information out there on what to do. I kind of think of us, we can be a point to direct people to those places and not have to reinvent the wheel.
And we recognize that a lot of people want and need face-to-face contact, so the Sustainability Cafe that Abby's running at Curtis Memorial Library that everybody's welcome to participate in. We're Harpswell residents. Yep. We can come visit. We thought about tacking something like that onto the Repair Cafe and also having sustainability long-term, what can you do to reduce our impact? And also having perhaps a preparedness cafe, which is how can we work with people so that they're prepared for whatever happens to them. Probably not volcanoes. So those are floating around. So there's the online part, there's the hand people something part, and there's the maybe working individually with part.
And I think it's a good example of what a good community this is. You know, to focus on this, and thank goodness for Abby. And the Sustainability Cafe idea led to all sorts of thoughts. Pretty amazing.
And we keep talking about this. We are into the weeds. And as far as the sustainability plan goes, we can pull this together. That's why Jenny's on the committee also, because when all is said and done, we do have to have all of this coordinate together an upper level, and ideally we can do that right on the website, and then things from there.
Well, and the drafting, I mentioned Abby and Gail, because Abby, Gail, and Martha have been doing all this work on the after effects of the storm and what has come out of that. As you said, that we learned it could happen here. To use that knowledge as well.
Use it, yeah. Take advantage of it.
And use.
Do we have to pay commission? All right. Which brings us to the last two items, preparation for town meeting. So I wanted us to start thinking about, we're going to have to do this offline, basically, of what we can have as information at town meeting. I mean, we're talking about what the community information group is doing.
5 weeks.
Well, yeah, but we're borrowing from other people, so we should be able to, if we don't have the cards, we could probably have something that would have the same type of, I would think having the same type of information. We can go back
Seems
to,
like you always print out a sheet of,
Sheet
even
of
even if
paper.
you cut it in half or something.
yeah, and then you have it there. And
We'll have something.
when's the next
Are you-
meeting?
Is there going to be a table?
Talked about it.
What do you want to know?
No, their next
No,
meeting,
Next
Friday?
It's Valentine's Day, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, the 14th.
14th,
Yeah.
so that, at that meeting, perhaps we can talk more about the specifics of how that'll happen.
So you've invited Katie Neal, who's the
Oh, I forgot about that.
new
Recreation.
recreation
Community service.
community service.
And I talked to Christy. I went to invite Katie on Friday, but she wasn't here. I talked to Christy, and she mentioned Tom Mahoney as well, because he's community coordinator.
The community connector, and
He's a
he,
community connector. He
It's
does
the-
Romeo, but he also,
that's a position funded by Lifelong Maine out of UMaine.
oh, is it?
He's a stipended volunteer.
Oh,
And he also filled in when Gina left.
when Gina
for
left.
rec.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if we're inviting Tina, but Gail and I talked with Tina after our in-person meeting, and we came up with, what is it that people want to know instead of what we think they want to know? So we came up with some hypothetical questions, like how do I keep my house warm, as opposed to how do I get an energy audit? Because you'd ask how I get my house warm, and it might come to an audit. So we were asking Tina and then Katie, what is it people are asking, so that we can tailor the
Q&A,
card,
yeah.
whatever information looks like to what people in Harpswell need.
Did you talk to Katie? Oh, okay, great.
Wanted to say, interesting.
Oh, that's an idea.
I don't know when is the town meeting?
March 8th?
Saturday.
It's on a
Second,
Saturday.
second Saturday.
Wow.
I could,
So basically, usually the doors open at 9 to 10 would be a good time, because that's when people are milling around and looking at, we'll have a table there. We usually have a table there. And then once the meeting starts, of course, probably wouldn't be doing
There's still
it.
some wandering around anyway.
And it may be a very
discussions, side
long
sessions.
meeting with a lot of people deciding they'd like to get their thoughts.
Bring a snack, in other words.
that would work for me.
That sounds really,
Yes.
that would be fun. That would be
Thank
really
you.
fun.
That
Yeah,
would be
great.
great, Abby. Thank
So
you.
at 9, maybe 9 to 10, or?
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Once we see when
The
they
meeting
open the
starts
doors.
at
Yeah,
10, so you really got to
So maybe we
be
should,
quiet at that point.
yeah, well, I don't think we sit there talking when they're having a meeting. But from 9 to 10, that would be great.
yeah, so maybe we need to publicize that. And
So,
maybe we need to publicize that so that people come in with their ideas. Their questions.
Well, I'm such a friendly face.
I know you are.
Publicized automatically.
okay, thank you so much,
Thanks,
Abby.
Abby.
Long, Abby.
Okay, thanks.
Wow.
So that's good, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure what else we would have there. Oh, and that's right, Peter. Peter is working on a format to let the town know what Spira is doing, and having that up on the website, which also could very nicely be put into a one-page. To
Yeah,
have it
especially if we're
as-
going to be asking for more money and spending more money, I think we need to really lay out.
We
what
really
have
need
put
to
out
let people know what they're
what
getting
we've
for their
gotten
money.
back in return.
Exactly,
That we
exactly.
might not have gotten any of, had not been able to act.
That's right.
An assumption is it'd probably be a single line item on the warrant, as opposed to grouped into some other funding. I think the Spira is a single.
Oh,
up or
yes, because
down.
we usually, when we increase it, or are they including part of the budget this year? I'm not sure. It might be included as part of the budget. I don't know that it's,
Or does it get lumped into something else?
Yeah. But at any rate, whether it is or isn't, it would
Last
be
year's, it
good.
has been separate.
It had been separate.
Because I know some town land things are usually not.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, that's why. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so basically, yes, we should have something. And Peter's working on that. And I think that we'll make sure that we have something available for town meeting on that. And are you having a harbor and waterfront reserve?
At the table?
No,
Probably
as
not.
on the warrant.
Reserve.
Oh, yes.
It's
I
the
think
Oh, it is.
so.
land acquisition fund, right?
Oh, the land acquisition fund,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
I don't remember how much.
Yeah, no,
we
that
talked
I'm
about it at
familiar
one
with, yeah,
Was it 60, I think?
something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, want to get it up to 100?
I want to go to 100, but
Well, I think there's 40 in there now,
Yeah.
isn't there, as I
not,
recall?
we don't have one yet, Harbor Waterfront.
Well, this is,
No,
I
but
think, the
this would-
general town
But-
This is the
Yeah,
general town.
Yeah,
that can be used for some
Yeah.
things from waterfront.
yeah, I know they're going to add 10, or propose 10 for the Harbor Masters Fund for all the whale carcasses.
Right,
That's been included.
yeah,
That's operating, more operating.
operating budget, yeah.
But I remember they're also going to boost the the land acquisition fund, and I can't remember by how much.
60,000 as I recall,
Okay.
that's,
Going on that whale carcass thing.
yeah. Because I've been following the selectmen's meetings, because I film them, and I believe it's 60,000, right? To get it, the idea was to originally get that fund up to 100,000.
There's a pittance
So are
in the
we,
real estate world.
oh, sorry. Are we committing Peter to having that for the town meeting, or are we asking?
We're asking. Okay, I'm going to move on to the capital investment plan, which we talked a little bit about. It's in our sustainability plan as a action item to develop a capital investment plan. And I had hoped to have us, well, Mose, Ken, Deirdre, and Tim.
You have to rethink me. You have to rethink me. I'm only going to be here for 2 months.
Well, I know, but we can get a lot done in 2 months. Who's your replacement?
Working on
So we
that.
got to do something with it.
Yeah, I don't know who yet. I know we've got a couple of, at least one opening on the Harbor Water Committee. Person's names who was mentioned was Samantha, I don't remember what her last name is,
Oh, Bohan?
who was on your work group.
Yeah, Bohan.
And I know, what is it again?
Bohan.
Bohan, okay. She would probably make a very good representative, but she hasn't got on the committee yet, so we can't really nominate her. And it might be more than she can handle anyhow. if she's
Well,
on the
that's it.
committee.
It's great to get young people,
Yeah.
but we keep.
And I had
committing
hoped that
more
Matt
and more
Gilly would be
things.
the likely choice, but Matt's going to become
Well, he's going to be
greater
selected, so that's.
official. Going to boot Jane out and take over. So I don't know,
Well,
who
can
it
we
would be.
use you until you leave? You bring so much insight.
I'm pushing it.
Yeah.
So,
So,
If not,
that's absolutely right.
so ideally, I will get something out. Maybe we can have a quick get-together via Zoom the next 10 days to get a sense of how we want to start on that.
And I have a Zoom account that.
That's great, because I
know
don't.
It's easier
Yeah,
than.
yeah. Also, trying to say here. Losing it, guys. Oh, yes. Ideally, we want this in a format that we can present to our selectmen and the selectmen for 2026 budget, be included, not in the budget, but for 2026 town meeting, if something has to pass. So my sense is we need to start having something formatted, not formatted, but prepared to start talking to the administration about in the summer, probably June, July, so that if there's some budget requirements, they're available for October. Does that sound about right?
I have not.
Right.
This.
Get this going.
work would go into that.
Right, yeah.
So that sooner than later then.
For their schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Certainly. So ideally, if we can have a quick meeting to start, like in a week, within a week to 10 days. I also have the financial directive, I forget what you called it, that sent me, which is the town financial plan, or, I forget the name of it. But anyhow, it's a town document. No, this was more general. It was a financial something. But it would be helpful for us to have those documents as we're talking. So I'll have those.
The very. Which.
Right. But it'll give us a little background from which to work. So if we were to look at next week, well, Ann and Mose are here, are there some days better than others? And I'm not sure if we're not going to have to meet later. I'm not sure about Tim, because he's in Tanzania again. So I'm not sure time-wise how that is going to. And what time of the day works better for you guys, I guess is the question. You still work, don't you?
Yeah. Sort of a mountain time too, but
Oh, that's right.
either earlier or fairly late for me.
Okay.
I can usually, with notice, I can usually adjust.
All right. I think what I'm going to do is send an email out to everybody and just have you get back to me the time of day that works the best for you. And I'll throw out some dates rather than try to schedule it now, because I got to get Deirdre and,
Sorry, I stepped out. What are you scheduling?
I'm scheduling an off, we have these little working groups that stay under the amount of quorum,
Yeah.
and we meet usually by Zoom to discuss these. This is going to be
This is
to
on a
dis-
capital investment plan
a
for,
capital investment plan that we want to propose to the town for 2026.
such as longer, like the raising roads and things like that, so the big stuff.
So this is not going to be decision-making, but more what will go into the thinking as the town decides what to consider for long-term. You know, how are you going to pay for $3 million for it?
And when?
And when? Yeah. So we feel, just to give you a little background, we had some, for the road projects that we've been doing, we had a criteria built in of how to prioritize them, which we think, just off the top of our head, could be helpful for this, even though it's going to be more than roads. So it's going to be more of a planning document that will go to the administration. for them to consider for long-term funding. Is that right? Okay. Ultimately, that's the goal. Okay, so I think we've covered everything. Was there anything else, Nancy?
Do you want to describe the 2025 Maine Sustainability and Water Conference presentation in Augusta on March 27th?
That we're going to,
That we're going to.
that I forgot about.
Yeah, that's okay. I haven't read the last proposal. But
Abby Roach, that was to Conservation Commission.
it's Conservation Commission.
Yeah. I have to compartmentalize.
It's
it.
just, it's the Sustainability and Water Conference, statewide conference.
Okay. Would you like to describe it? Right now,
Okay,
I cannot.
I haven't read the most recent abstract, but there's a statewide conference in Augusta on March 27th, and Conservation Commission submitted an abstract to make a presentation, a public presentation, essentially about the WaterWise program that we have developed and given in Harpswell. So it'll be a face-to-face conference. And Jay, again, it's the Maine Sustainability and Water Conference. I gather it's an annual conference.
Sustainability and water.
So we'll be making a presentation, we being Mary Ann and Jenny, and I will be making a presentation.
The Water Witches are going up to Augusta. We're going out of town. We're taking the show out of
We'll
town.
take the show on the road.
Show on the
On the
road.
road.
And the conveners of this are the woman who came and gave a talk about the geology of Harpswell,
Jessica Meeks.
Jessica Meeks, and the woman who's
Well-
down at Shabik.
Yeah, Carol White.
So these are two movers and shakers.
So Abby Roche, who is on our committee on conservation, works for Island Institute. She knew of the program, and she
She drafted the abstract.
drafted the
She did a
abstract.
great job.
And then we were accepted. So we just have to put the program together. I forgot about that.
Anyway,
So that's what's
Harpswell
coming.
makes it to the state conference.
Yeah. Okay. So that,
Actually, we should probably send around the information about all kinds of great
we should do
sustainability
that.
stuff.
Why don't we do that? Actually, there's a lot of good tables that are going to be up there. That'll be interesting. You going to send that, Nancy?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you. All right. I think we are ready to adjourn if nobody has anything else. Well, that's right, because you won't be able
Thanks
to.
for all your support.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your
You're going to make
support.
me cry.
Yeah, you can, if you want to hang out with us, you're welcome to
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
It's open to the
Public
public,
meetings.
you know?
These are public meetings every first Monday or Tuesday.
Tuesday. When you have nothing else to do, you can just say,
And
hey,
town
I
land,
think
same with town lands.
Aren't we looking for another member? Aren't we looking for another member?
Good, Nancy.
very good, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
This committee. Gotcha, you're moving on. I keep forgetting you're moving on. I put it out of my head. But we also now have a new planner, which I really felt that we were kind of just dangling out here for a while. I was so glad to have you here to be that touchstone back to the town.
Thank you for your wisdom.
Yes.
Well, sorry I haven't made it to any meetings so far, but I do intend on coming.
Well, you have.
You have.
I didn't even know if you were supposed to. I wasn't sure what your job entailed.
Well, you haven't been in this too long, so we'll let it go.
Yeah. It's a lot to do with childcare. You know, my husband's a fisherman, and all the planners' meetings are all at night. So this works out great because you guys meet at 4. My sister, the way Tuesdays work, my sister works in her office in town. She brings the kids home to my house on Tuesdays, so it works out really well.
Works really well.
But that's what I've been doing from the back row is coordinating childcare because my husband had to pick Clifford up early, take him to the doctors, and my sister's bringing Marshall home, and they all have to meet at the house at the right time. But part of the reason I haven't been here is that I've been working with the planning board on some ordinance amendments. I don't know if anybody's interested. Have you talked about it at all?
I haven't, not to, I was going to talk about it tomorrow at the next meeting, but no, I haven't.
Oh, just some general, we're working on updating our shoreline zoning map to more accurately reflect the resource protection district. We had a public hearing on it last week, and yeah.
Last Wednesday.
Thank you. And it kind of, we got a lot of feedback, a lot of pushback, which is totally understandable. But I think that our timeline's not going to make it to town meeting with that particular project, just because of the, people's concern. People are concerned about their property rights, their property value, their building abilities. So I think that we're going to try to take it a little bit slower when it comes to the map amendments. We are working on a couple ordinance amendments, which are really just to bring the ordinance, make it easier to administer, and also try to bring it more into compliance with Chapter 1000, the main DEP shoreline zoning guidelines, municipal shoreline zoning guidelines. And hopefully, I need to talk to Mary Ann about coming to our meeting, but hopefully that will hit town meeting. Yeah, and so that's what I've been working on, which is why I haven't been able to come yet. But I do intend on being here.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring it up because that's going to be tomorrow's meeting, but after listening to the public hearing, because I filmed it last week, I realized that Conservation Commission could be helpful in really explaining what it's trying to do other than take land away from people.
Not trying to do that.
And, what value resource protection plays when it comes to freshwater wetlands. So Margaret will be at our meeting tomorrow. I'm going to bring it up on tomorrow's meeting, and I think we can help the process if the Conservation Commission could get involved with doing that educational piece. And it also talks about steep slopes, and so yeah,
Tomorrow's meeting.
meeting. You're excited. You can come and join.
So, Mary Ann, I had a question about what Margaret was just explaining and the grant that we're applying for.
Which one?
Aren't we applying for a grant for more specific maps?
Yes.
Yes.
So how do those,
Well, difference is the grant that we're applying for is to map the shoreline zoning. Well, the FEMA maps do not reflect future sea level rise. So the grant that we applied for, that we will hear in 2 months about, is for Stantec to do a map modeling study using FEMA's information, but then building upon that so that for the future, if we have these maps, the town will be able to tell what areas are going to, similar to the maps that have been out there.
Areas folks on or potentially.
Yeah, but this will be more accurate than what, we've been using this type of system, but we've just added 3 feet to what we have, and 6 feet. Even the maps that NRC did are the same thing. The idea of this is this, because of our shoreline configuration, there's so many differences. This mapping will give us a more accurate idea of where sea level rise and storm surge are going to affect properties.
And that could be used towards future policymaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, that's really helpful. Because as I watched the meeting, the public meeting, I wasn't there, but I watched it. Very interesting.
It was interesting.
And that's really helpful because this is what's now and that's what's predicted.
Did you get the sense that you didn't have a real good idea of what was trying to be changed?
Well, I had this really interesting conversation with my neighbor, so I felt like I knew what some of the questions were and what some of the concerns were, so I thought it was,
I would love to talk to you about that, because I think that'll be helpful as we start to address some of the issues questions that arise. It's always better to get questions from people and work from that, I think.
well, and that's a good point, because listening to what the questions were and what the responses were was really very helpful, because you don't always have the same question. Some questions are more helpful than others,
That's true.
but,
Is that meeting up on Vimeo
yeah.
now? So I could look for it before tomorrow's meeting?
Yes, it's probably up on the YouTube.
I
Okay,
saw it on Vimeo.
You saw it on Vimeo?
and what,
Shoreland,
should I just look for shoreland zoning?
It was a planning board public hearing, so hopefully that's how it's identified.
Yeah.
it says Shoreland on the Vimeo one.
Thanks.
Did you go Vimeo on the town website or Vimeo on TV 14?
I went to Harpswell Vimeo.
Okay. So you can find it either. So it was basically televised, it was on Zoom,
Right,
and then Jim took care of the Zoom. I then filmed for the TV station. So it could be either place.
thanks.
YouTube, not Zoom.
I'm sorry?
It was YouTube, not
YouTube?
Zoom. Yeah,
Okay.
it was not a Zoom meeting.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Zoom too. Zoom too.
Yeah.
All right.
So the grant is that, help me remember, is that a GoPIF grant?
Yes.
For what we just talked about, the grant we're applying for is GoPIF?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that being said, shall we adjourn?
Absolutely.
5:30.
Tina warns everybody to wash your hands, don't touch your face, don't,
Thank
I've
you.
been touching my face the whole time I'm sitting here.
Okay.
be careful, because
Could've told her sooner.
there is a plague going
The
around.
plague's going around.
They didn't have a quarantine sign on us coming in.
Now with strep throat.
No.
Right.
Yep, I had it, my wife's got it.
Yeah.
It was nice of you to share.
Exhaustion,
It's nice of you to share.
I'm a
Yeah.
sure guy I work with.
I have a
Yeah.
friend who's had it.
Okay, I gotta shut